Hello everyone, I'm Rogios and welcome to episode 3 of my Race to the Top series. In this series I'm taking over Chelsea at the start of the 2014-2015 season in the Vanarama South, or Vanarama Conference South. This episode takes place 10 games into the season. As you can see, we're in 3rd place with 22 points. A little disappointing, but being 7-1-2 isn't terrible. Not as good as I'd hoped. I believe at the time of this recording we're on a 6-game winning streak, and I'm not going to spoil whether or not that continues, but this game is our 11th conference game. You can see a record there. We had a bit of a rough start, couldn't really string together anything, and then we kind of took over once we played Bournemouth. Once we lost to Juventus, once we lost to Juve, we got in shape and I want to say woke up, but we were kind of already there. We just needed that little push. So yeah, we are on a 6-game winning streak. At this point, we are into the 4th qualifying round of the FA Cup. An interesting note is that as the FA Cup goes on, even though all the Premiership teams are going to be there, it's actually very unlikely I'm going to play any until the very final stages, because as the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd rounds get underway, they're going to be bringing in teams from League 2, League 1, Championship, and Premiership, which, if you know that are familiar with this save, because it's inverted, are going to be all the teams that are normally playing in the Vanarama North-South, Vanarama Conference, and League 2, League 1. So the opposition is going to stay relatively evenly distributed amongst, say, the lower league teams plus the upper league teams, which I think is going to end up being rather interesting, because if we get the right draws, we may have a relatively simple time making it to the final, only having to beat a handful of top teams. Also, at this point in the series, for our European Champions Cup games, we had played Juventus, as I already said, and lost, and I believe we played Legia, and won. So our 3rd game is against Galatasaray, as you see on the fixtures. But yeah, getting into setting up for today's game, we have Brighton, Albion to face, and right here I'm circling the squad list, because for one of our matches, I believe it's the match highlighted now, Thurrock, we actually played a team where 5 out of our 13, we only had 13 players. We didn't use a full set of subs. Only 5 out of our 13 players. Well, 8 out of our 13 were first team players, and the other 5, as I was going to say, were from the under 21s, and I think we had one from the under 18s squad. So we actually had some new names, some people making debuts where, they're probably not going to see any first team time for the rest of the year, probably for another couple of years until they're a little bit better, but they still played in that game because so many players were out on international travel. I think all but the 8 I played were out internationally on that day, and for whatever reason I didn't get to reschedule the match, and it wouldn't let me ask for a delay at that point because it was game day. I also point out here that QPR loses 10 points or has lost 10 points because of administration. So they actually end up 11th in the table, where they should be up in the top 4, I believe. I believe they'd be 1 point ahead of us. Yeah, they'd be 1 point ahead of us, so they'd actually be leading us if it wasn't for administration. And so far, they're the only team to have that happen. So we'll see how that plays out. Now, as soon as I get over that and I go into team selection, you'll see I'm playing an asymmetric 4-1-2-2-1, or, I mean, I guess you could call it a 4-1-4-1 with a winger and an advanced forward instead of, or an advanced playmaker instead of a winger and another central mid. But this tactic is actually the one that I've had the most success with so far. And I think here I bring in some extra players because they had complained about not getting enough playing time. And so I was dropping them in for this game because I figured it was going to be a relatively simpler game. Alright, so now I get into the game. Courtois in goal. Luis Terry Cahill as Puleta. In the back, Mikel, DM. Fabregas and Hazard in the midfield. Here's our team instructions. We are telling him, yeah, expect nothing but a win. They sort of listen. And the game gets underway. And immediately we skip to our highlight. We get a corner. Fabregas tries to head it in, misses. We dropped some frames here. My apologies for that. My computer's not the greatest. I'm going to try and work on cleaning that up for future episodes. Actually, at this point in the season, interesting note, you just saw Salah miss there. But Mohamed Salah is actually my top goal scorer at this point in the season. I think he has 9 or 10 goals. Other players are right there next to him. Like some of my strikers, I believe, are up there as well. But he's actually had a surprising number of goals for us this season. And he's been really solid for us. So now skipping to the next highlight, Willian gets a yellow. Brighton scores first. I'm not too concerned about that. Eden Hazard gets injured, which actually throws kind of a loop into my plans, because I don't actually have all that many players that can play out on that left wing. You can see me experimenting here, trying to figure out who I can play in that role to try to free up some space. And here I take the team talk. And jumping back into the game. I believe Cahill gets a yellow card next. Right there, that goal just came from too much pressure. You could see they were trying to clear it, but we kept recycling it back in. They just couldn't get it clear enough for us to not be a threat. And eventually, we got one in. So now the game is tied 1-1. Yep, Cahill gets the yellow. They're applying pressure from a throw in here. But they missed the kick. Again, bringing some pressure. Finding options out wide, circling it back. Doesn't quite get there. And Cahill gets his second yellow card of the game. And if you heard my original recording, at this point I'm swearing at the screen, because Cahill shouldn't have gotten that red card. I mean, fair enough, it's a bad tackle, but I'm not angry so much at the ref as I am at Cahill for this one. So I bring on Ivanovic to take out my defensive midfielder. Try to leave my attacking pieces in place. They get some pressure off the free kick. But it's dealt with. And here we take a 2-1 lead off a great header play. I don't know how well the replay is going to come out. But you see Salah comes down here, plays the high ball out. Shirley heads it in. And Willian is right there to pound it into goal. Great setup play, if you ask me. And there they tried to play the long ball forward, but it didn't go. Off the corner. Actually off the throw, and we get a corner. And that one's put in by John Terry. So this game actually pretty well acts as a good summarization of our season. We started off a little bit weak. Let in a goal maybe we shouldn't have. Didn't play the best. Missed a few players. But ended up pulling out anyways. And getting the win anyways. So this is our 7th win in a row. And this is going to be the end of the episode. So as I've said before, I'm going to be recording about every quarter. So this is the first quarter. I'm going to come back about halfway through the season, give you some more updates then. And if you want bonus points, brownie points, whatever you want to call them, post down in the comments how many games you think we won before we finally lost and who you think we actually lost to. I'll give you a hint. Actually, I'm not going to give you a hint. You don't have to guess who we lost to, but you do have to guess how many games we won in a row. It's a pretty high number, but it's less than 20. I'll give you that much. Either way, if you're enjoying this series, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. You know the drill. And I will see you with my next episode. Have a good one. Bye.